Looks like we are live. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Hope you are having a great week so far. Is it Tuesday or is it Wednesday? Oh, yes, it's already Wednesday. Time flies when we're having fun. All right, so today's topic, we're going to be talking about prayer and meditation and how that can help boost your happiness. And if you're somebody like me, that maybe you struggle with being able to do that, I don't have like a set meditation practice in the morning. That doesn't really work for me. I do have a couple of different things that I try, and I want to share those insights with you guys today so that you can maybe try this yourself and see if this helps, because the benefits of prayer and meditation are huge, and they are really beneficial to increasing your happiness. And so that's what I want to go over today. And so for me, I had originally struggled with being able to make a connection with a God of my understanding. I had used to go to church when I was younger, but I would go to different friends' churches, and I would try different venues out. So I tried Catholic and Baptist. I didn't go beyond mainly the Christian religion. That was mostly my experience. But I used to love listening to the sermons from the pastor. And it was only when they chased me to go downstairs that I had to be with the kids in Sunday school. Then I was like, I don't really like this. And I would switch churches. So if you put too many restrictions on me, that's what usually would end up happening. Um, so, and this was because I didn't have any parents that actually went to church with me. It was something that I wanted. It was something that I was always called to. It was something that I always felt some sort of connection. And I think is because when I was younger, I was also sent to Sunday school. I remember having to go on a bus, and then there was a big, huge church, massive amount of people in there. But I just remember the energy in that environment was really warm, really inviting, and I really liked being able to be there. And so I think that is probably what started my exploration into the Christian faith, and being able to really embrace that. And as a kid, I suppose with Easter coming up too, I used to ask every year. I would ask for a Bible and a new outfit. Those were what I wanted for Easter, and and of course chocolate, because that that's just a given, right? So these are little things, like when I look back of some of the memories that I had when I was younger. I had some really happy memories of being when I was at church, and I loved being part of the choir, those kind of things. So being able to tap into those happier memories is something that can give you a lot of strength, especially when you're having a difficult time. And I did that myself when I was going through a lot of challenges when I was growing up. There was a lot of abuse, sexual abuse, alcohol, drugs. Well, not so much drugs. That wasn't till I was older in my teenage years that I was around that kind of stuff. But alcohol, and that usually ended up going into things like arguments and fights all the time. There was just constant raging, constant yelling in our house, and that just developed this way of walking on eggshells, of people pleasing and stuff like that, because I could pay attention to how the alcoholic that we were living with, depending on which one, not all of them were violent, but the main one we lived with definitely was. And that was a real problem. And I used to be able to be the one that would break up the fights, and I would mitigate a lot of the challenges that would come up and the arguing. And so I got really, really good at being able to read people's, I want to say energy, but it's like, I don't know, maybe it's micro expressions or there's something with it. I can't really fully explain it, but I definitely know when some of those signs are coming up. So that caused me to be on high alert a lot of times. And so I wasn't always um, inwardly focused. I was always outwardly focused and worried about what's going on with everybody else. And I wasn't really focused on myself. And it was only when I started to get into healing and recovery when I was in around my 20s. That's when I started to learn about prayer and meditation. But by that time, I was actually very, very cynical, and I was much more logic focused. I did not like any uh, show of excessive emotion, um, because that was usually a warning sign, basically, of what I grew up with. So I also did well in structured environments like school or business, because you don't get too many people yelling in work or yelling in school unless there's actual danger, right? So being in environments where it was structured, where you had to control your emotions. Like, it's pretty basic that you can't come into a business environment and be overly emotional. You need to be able to manage your own emotions. And so for me, I really thrived in those environments because finally I had some peace. Finally, there was something that was predictable. There was structure that I could handle. And so going back to developing my my connection with prayer and meditation. So um, I usually don't pray out loud. There have been a few times that I have, but I usually don't pray out loud. And it's usually more of a silent prayer. And sometimes I will also do written prayers as well. But not very often will I say them out loud. Although there was one time that I did, and it's a little bit of a funny story. And I know some Christians would probably be quite upset, but at this time I was in the process of testing my faith, and I hadn't, and I think everybody should test their faith, because if you're just following along just because that's what you were told, I don't think that's a full authentic connection with a spiritual side, with the God of your understanding, whether that's your, now I will refer to a Christian base faith because that is my background, but I don't have any discouragement towards anybody else's belief system, or if you don't, because I definitely was a person who did not have, hey Mark, good to see you, did not have that strong foundation of faith and belief. I was really much more logic based, and if I couldn't see it, then it wasn't worth believing. But I had a friend of mine that was challenging me, and she said, if you don't believe, then pray and ask that if there is a God, to show you, and or tell him directly, like, I don't believe you actually exist, so prove yourself to me. And I know some people will be like, oh, in this line and this part of the Bible, it says you shouldn't do that. And I'm like, I'm speaking from my own experience, and this is what actually has worked for me, and this is what I did. And so there was a situation where I had lost my cat. We had just moved to a new place. My cat fell out of the window. There was a screen, and he had fallen out, and it was about 4 stories. And where he had landed, I could see that there were little bits of blood on the ground, and I knew he had been hurt somehow. And I was beside myself. I was so upset. I had searched high and low for him, and cats, especially an injured cat, definitely is going to hide. It's going to not come out when you call them. And so this had happened, I think, like on a Sunday night, and I had been going to work, and then I'd come home and I'd spend all my time searching the apartment building grounds, and couldn't find him, couldn't find him. By the time it got to Friday morning, and I was so exhausted because I was so worried about losing my cat, and I was just really, really upset, and I was frustrated, and I was so scared. At this point, I just wanted to at least find his body if he was dead, and just so that I would have some sort of closure. And I remember going to work that Friday morning, and I had pulled up to the stop sign, and I just, in pure surrender. And I think this is the key ingredient, that when you go to pray, that you do it from a truly heartfelt space, that you're not doing it out of repetition, and you're not doing it out of just a ritual, that it comes truly from a heart connected space. And I remember saying, as I was sitting there at the stop sign, and I was like, all right, you know what? If there is a God, bring back my fucking cat. And I just said it like that, and then I drove to work. I didn't think anything else of it. And I got home that night, and it was the end of the week. I was so tired because I hadn't slept, and I decided to go to bed early. Well, I was still living with my mom at the time, and she came home from her shift at work, and she normally would walk the dog at night before she went to bed. And she didn't know if I had taken him out already, so she went to take him, went to go down the path that she would normally take, and all of a sudden the light had flashed off. Like it was on, like the park, the pathway light. It flickered and went out. So the pathway was now dark, and so she kind of got scared, and she thought, you know what? I'm gonna go walk this other way. So she walked this other way, and she ended up coming back towards the apartment after the walk, and she thought she had heard a cat, and she's like, Sam, is that you? And all of a sudden he's like, meow. And so she stuck her hands in this bush, got her arms all cut up and everything. She grabbed this cat. She wasn't even sure if it was the right one, but she grabbed him. She grabbed him in her arms and with the dog, and then came upstairs, woke me up, and I started scream crying. I was so grateful. And I got my cat back that night. So from that morning, and I was like, oh, okay, sorry about that. I guess there is a God. Thank you for showing yourself to me. I appreciate that. And so ever since then, I have been a lot more open to a spiritual path. And it can be something as simple as that. It's got to speak to you in a way that you can understand. So that's where the true happiness comes from. It has to be something that is personal to you to get that strong connection. So however you want to do that, I would invite you to ask God to show himself to you. If it's Jesus, you believe in Jesus and the Christian faith, then I would invite you to invite Jesus into your heart and to show you that he is real. Okay? And so while I don't tend to go to church on Sundays, I don't tend to do a lot of normal religious practices. I do pray, and another way that I will pray, it is just a thought, or sometimes I will write it down. And one of the things when you pray, I don't pray to ask for things usually. I pray to express gratitude. I will ask for things for other people. Very little do I ask for myself. for myself, I usually ask for guidance, I ask for wisdom, I ask for strength, I ask for clarity, to show me what it is that I need to know, rather than asking for specific things. Like, and most definitely, and I don't understand people that do this, but sometimes people will pray for the downfall of their enemies, and that is like the dumbest thing that you could actually do. Because even if it happens, even if it comes true, what you sow, you will reap. So you don't want that kind of stuff coming back to you. You definitely do not want to prey on somebody's downfall, or that they get their just rewards or their punishment. That is not, that's not how Jesus would do it anyway. He definitely teaches us to turn the other cheek. Now, that doesn't mean you continually put yourself in situations where you're being taken advantage of, but you definitely want to be able to let those things go, because the retaliation, I've never been able to retaliate in that kind of way, because it requires me to be in a place of fear. So if I'm in a place of fear, then yes, I will not be my best self. Pretty much everybody will be in that situation. They will not behave as their best selves if they are in a place of fear. And that usually starts with doubt, which is why they say the devil sows seeds of doubt, because when you have doubt, that is when fear starts to creep in, and fear is just false evidence appearing real. That is not the truth of who you are. That is not the truth of who I am. And when you know the truth of who you are, there's nothing that can shake you. And not even the devil. He has no power over you whatsoever if you have that strong faith. And so for me, having to, hi No, welcome, having to have that connection with God is prayer. I heard one time is prayer is talking to God, meditation is listening to God. And so listening can just be something quiet. Now, I am not too good at being able to just sit quietly and kind of do the Om thing, right? Now, I know a lot of people can do that. I've played meditation music that has the Om kind of meditation just to calm me and quiet me down. But most of the time, meditation is just quieting my mind, which is challenging to do. There's a couple of different ways that I do this, and it usually requires an activity for me to quiet my mind, because if I'm just sitting there, the mind's going 100 miles a minute, so it doesn't quiet down. So what I need is something to focus on that doesn't require a whole lot of mental bandwidth, but requires some physical dexterity. So my painting is one of the ways that I do that. Household chores is another one. So quieting myself down and just being in the moment of being able to listen and talk to God at the same time and have a conversation with him as if I was talking with a best friend. And so that is a lot of how I do prayer and meditation. And when I take the time to do that, especially if I'm frustrated, I don't always remember to do that, but especially when I'm frustrated, then I'm able to switch how I'm feeling and what's going on with me, and to bring myself into that happier state. And once I've been able to do that, then I find that my day is much better. I feel much happier. And so I would love to know if you guys feel that way as well. What are your practices? Do you have a set practice for prayer? Do you have a set practice for meditation? How do you guys do that stuff? I know for me, I've shared what works for me, and I would invite you guys to try that. I hope you find it helpful. And so yeah, that is the topic for today. It is something that is an ongoing practice that I use, and I hope you guys try it out and find it beneficial as well. Okay, so thanks, guys. Have a great day. Bye.